Welcome back. We are continuing to talk about how we can have more charity in our life because we know that charity is the pure love of Christ. And it says in the scriptures that it doesn't matter if we can move mountains. It doesn't matter if we do good and give to the poor. If we have not charity, we are nothing. So if we need to have charity, we've got to understand what it means. And one of the things that it says in the scriptures is that charity is not puffed up. So what does that mean? Because if you think about a visual with puffed up, it makes me think about the Marshmallow Man. And let's say you feel like you just ate too much Thanksgiving. You just feel like you're bloated and you're a big, huge balloon. That's the visual that comes. But I want to think about this. But I want to explore this simple yet powerful phrase from the Book of Mormon. It's in the Book of Mormon. It's in Corinthians chapter 13. Charity is not puffed up. And what does that have to do with love? Because we know charity is the pure love of Christ. So not being puffed up, how does that show love? It's easy to see how love is one of the highest virtues, but why is being puffed up in this list of the most important things? And what does this teach us about how we should lead our lives? What I want to do is focus on the ways that we behave like we're puffed up. What we're going to do is we're going to explore the different ways that we behave like we're puffed up. Because it says in the scriptures that we need to relate the scriptures to ourselves. So if we relate the scriptures to ourselves, we've got to use stories from today. If we're only using stories that we don't understand from the Bible, that's not relating it to ourselves. We've got to know the story. The parables are obviously extremely important. Jesus Christ, when he gave those parables, he knew exactly what he was saying. He never said anything on accident. So those stories are extremely important, but we need to understand those stories and understand how they relate to our lives. So what are the ways that we act like we're puffed up? One way is we act ego-driven. We make ego-driven decisions. We prioritize our needs or our desires, what I want, above what other people want, or maybe at the expense of other people. Because is it okay to prioritize what we want? Yes. But what you need to do is figure out what it is that you want. How will that affect the people around you? And how can you do this in a way that helps other people get what they would like or need and help you get what you would like or need? And it's crazy and very interesting. I promise you, you can always find a way to do that. Sometimes it seems impossible. But as I learned how to do that, it works in business, it works in your personal life, it works in your spiritual life, which your spiritual life actually encompasses all of that. But I'll just use my business as an example. As I learned how to meet the needs that I had, goals that I had in my business, numbers, financial goals, whatever it was, when I worked to figure out how to meet that need by helping other people, it was unbelievable how my business exploded. And that happens in my personal life, in my relationships, and in every aspect of my relationship with Heavenly Father, with Jesus Christ. The second thing we do is we can get self-righteous. What does that mean? It means we believe that our beliefs, our morals, what I'm doing right is better or more important than what someone else is, or that my practices are superior to someone else. So if I am really good at keeping the Sabbath day holy and I see my neighbor doing something that I don't think is keeping the Sabbath day holy, first of all, who am I to worry about what they're doing? And second of all, we're all on our journey figuring this out together. And there are other things that I need a lot more work on. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at the Sabbath either. I'm working really hard to be that. But what the point is, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what we're doing, what someone else is doing, what they're not doing. Our job is to love each other. Another thing is comparing and despairing. When we use social media to showcase something that we pretend is perfect, like we're showing a perfect life or trying to make something look better than it is, or we only show the good things that happen, we don't let people learn from the hard things we're going through and what we're learning from it, then what happens is not only are we measuring our worth by other people's perfect lives, we're also teaching other people to do the same thing. When you give yourself permission to show the truth in a way that can be uplifting and helping other people, not like you're complaining and whining and griping about something. And in fact, one of the rules of social media that keeps you uplifting other people is to make sure that you don't post about a trial until you're ready to share something that you learned. So if you're in the middle of this devastation and you just are falling apart and you're broken and you're like, I have nothing to give, you don't go online and just spread that all around, because all it does is breed despair. Of course, go through it in your life. Of course, experience the pain. Don't push yourself to get through it faster than you need to. Be healthy about it. But don't post about it until you have gotten to a place where you at least have even a little glimmer. So you might post, I had a bout of depression and I'm still not over it yet, but this is what I'm doing. I'm just making myself get out of bed, and that's all I have to do today. You see what I'm saying? Whatever it is, it could be something big, something small, but you are sharing because you're helping inspire and lift other people, not because you want to complain. Another way we exhibit this attitude of being puffed up is when we are unwilling to listen. Think about the last time you were frustrated or impatient with someone, maybe your spouse, maybe one of your kids, maybe your parents. When you ignore the viewpoints of someone else or feelings of someone else because we believe we already have all the answers, or because we believe they don't understand us, that is being puffed up. And the last one I want to share with you is when you're reluctant to apologize. You're reluctant to repent. When you are refusing to admit wrongdoing or fault, when you believe it's more important to keep your pride intact than mend a relationship, this doesn't mean you need to lie. It doesn't mean you say that you were wrong when you weren't. What that means is you recognize, wow, I'm not perfect. That actual thing did happen, but I could have been kinder about it. There are so many times when I'm completely in the wrong. And then there are other times where I know that what I said was true, but I could have said it nicer. I could have been more willing to listen. I could have asked, help me understand what you're thinking or what you mean. So you don't lie. You don't give away what you need out of a relationship. But we want to be quick to apologize, quick to listen. But I want you to remember, always, always, there is hope. I want you to recognize the tendencies, because that's the first step to transformation. And that's the whole goal of this channel. That's why I do these videos, because I want you to be able to come closer to Jesus Christ. And if I can say something, or there's a message that touches your heart, that helps you connect with Jesus Christ in a different way or in a closer way, then I am so excited. That is what my goal is. I'm sure you've already thought of one or more things that you're thinking, okay, that's what I can work on this week. That's something that's a struggle for me, or that's something that I haven't been willing to admit, or I don't want to give it up because I feel like, well, that's not fair, or whatever. I'm sure you've thought of one or more. Pick that thing, and I'm going to give you 3 things you can do that will help you practice working on that this week. First of all, practice active listening. No matter what it is that you're going to be working on, when you start to notice that you're going in that direction, you're starting to get triggered and have that behavior, practice active listening. So instead of waiting for your turn to speak, I want you to genuinely listen. You don't care if you're going to get to say something. You just want to hear what they have to say. This means not just hearing the words, but understanding the emotions that they're feeling and their perspectives, because they might completely believe a different way than you do, and you're not willing to change your belief, and that's fine. But they have a lifetime of experiences that led them to these beliefs. This is why they feel this way, and they need to be loved and understood just as we do. The second thing is I want you to self-reflect. This keeps coming up because when we spend time analyzing our own actions, our own motives, and our own feelings, then all of a sudden we can start to figure out, oh, that is a way that I tried to pretend like, oh no, I had the right intention for that. I said that because I was trying to be helpful, when if you really dig down deep, you start to realize, well, actually I said that because I felt like they needed to learn a thing or two. I just said it really nicely. So engage in self-reflection. Did you say it out of love? Did you do it out of ego? Why did you act that way? And the third thing is I want you to seek feedback. Sometimes we have blind spots. We don't recognize something that we're doing that is obvious to someone else. I have a friend who I met them recently. We're recent friends, and they just got out of a relationship that was really hard. And they would talk and talk and talk about the relationship and how the other person did all these things that weren't fair and weren't good. And you could tell they were hurt. So they were hurting and they just wanted to be understood. But everyone who listened to this person's conversation could tell right away that they were being very needy in the relationship. Now, is that something that is, are we bad because we're needy? No, we're human. We're needy because we're human. But when you ask someone else outside of yourself, your spouse, probably the person who knows you the best that you may want to ask the least, ask them, is there something that you notice about being puffed up and in these categories that is something that I can work on? Now, it needs to be somebody you trust, because we can have close relationships with people that are not emotionally trustworthy, and that's okay. So invite trusted friends or trusted family to share what they think or a way that they think that you may behave puffed up. It's not easy, but it's transformative, and you will be able to change faster, because what will happen is when they tell you this, one of two things will happen. Either you'll immediately humble yourself and go, okay, I'm glad to know, or, and probably in most cases, we'll think, well, yeah, but I did that because. We'll have a little bit of defensive reaction before we get to the point of humility, and that's okay too. And this week, as you work on the one thing that you want to incorporate the strategy into your life, what will happen is you'll start to deflate that puffed up nature, and you'll begin to embody the true essence of charity, which is the essence of Christ. And it will help us come closer to Christ. And as we do this, it will improve our relationships. It will give us inner peace. It will be a positive influence that will ripple out, and it will promote understanding. It will promote kindness and unity with everyone we interact with. So just remember this wise counsel from the Book of Mormon: charity is not puffed up. This is a timely reminder in our era of life right now of self-promotion, ego-driven behaviors. Let's aspire to a love that is genuine, a life that is meaningful, and a world where charity will reign supreme. We can actually be one of those ripples in that pond. Good luck this week, and I'll see you next week.